We left off Nun Aleph Amud Aleph. What? No, we passed that. Okay. We're towards the top before the letter. Daf Nun Aleph. Some more asks, "V'reimase behemo the leke lechatzoyin, the leke b'zeach hazer." We'd answered that if a person takes more than he should, takes 20% as meiser. So we say within that, half is meiser, the other is tevil. But factually, if he would have taken meiser and then taken afterwards, he would have taken something afterwards. It's nothing. Here he wants 20% to be meiser. There's no such thing as 20%. So what the Gemara answered was, when a person is 20%, he means 50% meiser. That's what he means. That's the mindset. If he says, I want 20% to be the meiser, that's nothing. The person would say that. It doesn't mean anything. No, then it's not a valid tithing. That's what we call masna mashkas b'Torah. You want to create something which doesn't exist, right? I want the 20% to be every part of the 20% should be meiser. There's no such thing. Then none of it would be. That's what it says. Since 50% could be, want 20% to be meiser, he only means 10%. Therefore, the other 10% is tevil. But the Gemara asks, what happens if you're tithing a flock or a herd, and you're counting them, and then you have two animals coming out simultaneously as the 10th, and he calls them both, they're both 10. You can't say, well, he meant each one should be 50% meiser. You can't. It's the 10th animal, not the 11th animal. So if that's the case, but yet we had said, Vomer Rava, Yotzu Shnaim Basiri. If two animals, two sheep, two goats, walk out as the 10th, the Korah Nasiri, and he pronounced them as the 10th, Asir v'charosha murovim zebozeh. We say the 10th and the 11th, they're intermingled. We'll see what this means in a moment. It doesn't mean to say that each one wants 50% meiser and 50% something else. No. It's a question which is what. But the question is, okay, but see, over here the question is really difficult. If you say nothing happens simultaneously, so you know what? Why it's intermingled between the 10th and the 11th? Because it's a suffix. We don't know. If you have two calves being born simultaneously, I mean, come out of the womb simultaneously, we rule halacha that it's iyashul at something to happen simultaneously. Therefore, only one is the b'chor, because we're not sure which one opened the womb first, which one came out first. So each one's a suffix. So here also, Yotzu Shnaim Basiri, two walk through the opening as the 10th, and he pronounces 10. But one was a little bit before the other. Even though it appeared visually, we don't go after what visually it appeared. We deal with the reality. Reality, one actually walked out first. So if that's the case, of course, we don't know which is the meiser. Is this the 10th or is that the 10th? Therefore, it's a suffix. So they want to say, the Rav is of the opinion, the Rav is of the he rules efshel it's something that you can. That two things the halacha is determined by what it's perceived to be, not on the reality. So therefore, we deal that came out simultaneously. We deal with the perception. So if you deal with the perception, what is it? We have a problem. Of course, how could they take place simultaneously if they cannot take place consecutively? Right? That's Rabbi's principle. Kol shebeinu b'zecha zefil v'asachaseno. Right? After 9, two animals walk out of the exit simultaneously. Wait. So there's an argument. Is this anything such as, within a context of halacha, is there anything simultaneous? It's an argument. If you say there is nothing, reality there's no two things that are simultaneous. So if that's the case, why is Why is we say we're not sure which is the 10th, which is the 11th? Exactly why. We're not sure which one went out first as the 10th. One came out first, so of course, so the question doesn't even start. It has no relevance to the whole discussion here. We're not sure which is the 10th, which is the 11th. That's exactly, so each one's a suffix. Therefore, we have to wait till it gets a mum. Right? You have to wait till, because you're not sure, right? Until it's blemished, you can't benefit from it. Then they're both meiser. They should, well, both something else. We'll see in a moment with the Gemara. How could you say it? If you would have called the 10th, then the 11th will walk out afterwards. It's nothing. Right?
What would happen?
Huh? Right, correct. Rabbi Yossi Aglili. And the Chachamim. Right?
What would happen if the 10th is coming out and you don't make the translation and the 11th is coming out and you call that one the 10th?
We'll discuss it in a minute. Discuss it with us. So, Hikoran Asiri. So, on that, the Gemara answer is Shiny Maisa Beimo Disi Batos. The Gemara's going to quote a Mishnah. Maisa Beimo is different. Normally, if a person goes and consecrates something, a person says that the animal that comes out, the black animal that comes out, the black bull should be hegdish, and a white bull comes out, and he pronounces it consecrated. It's machlokes b'shamei b'silel whether it's consecrated. B'shamei says hegdish b'tos havi hegdish, even though he thought it was the black bull who turned out to be a white bull. It doesn't make a difference. Torah says if you have a pronouncement of consecration, it's hegdish. B'sil says it's not. It's a mistake. I meant the black, not the white bull. Okay? But in regard to Masab Hema, based on Psukim, but even in a context where it's a mistake is made, it assumes a level of Kedusha. And this is based on Psukim. Because this is based on Psukim. Because this, firstly, this. If you want to consecrate an animal, you have to. You're the one who affects it. Here, the 10th one that goes out, when you say 10, you don't say Maisa Behema. This is the 10th. The counting itself, that brings about. There's a consequence of that counting. Let's read the Mishnah. This is the Mishnah we're quoting over here. What betos, what it means. If you mistakenly called something other than the 10th the 10th, what is the status of that animal? Ditnan. Kor Lichi Asiri. Mistakenly. He somehow lost count and he called the 9th one. As it went out, he called it the 10th. Ula Asiri Chi. And the 10th one, he called the 9th. Yeah, the 10th, he calls the 9th. Ula Charosor Asiri. Right? And the 11th, he called 10. Shloshten Kudoshim. All three of them assume a status of Kedusha. Now, if you called the 10th, anything that follows the 10th is nothing. Because that's the end of the story. That's the cutoff. So therefore, what follows is it's a new counting. But since he called the 10th, the 9th, so in counting, he hasn't yet arrived. If he called the 9th, the 10th, it's not the 10th because it's too early. Nevertheless, it affects the 9th. And when you called the 10th, the 9th, so based on counting, you didn't end the counting yet. So something still could follow, even though it's the 11th. But if you call the 10th the 10th, so the counting's finished. So once it's finished, the 11th, of course, can't be anything. What? We'll see. We'll see in a moment what they are. I'm not sure about 2. I mean, he really has to be, out of touch. Okay. No, no, it's still the 9th. You can make a mistake. It's within reasons. Okay, let's get the facts straight. Okay, before we'll ask theoretical questions. Meiser is Kochim Kalim. It's like Shlomim, except this slight variations. But in terms of its classification, it's Kochim Kalim. Okay. See, if it's a shlomim needs redemption. Ma'aser Behemoth, the moment it gets a blemish, you permit it to eat it without redeeming it. So the others assume a status of shlomim. Shlomim. It's shlom is hegdish. It's like peace offering. No. This is a herd or a flock. The owner has to take it, bring it to Yerushalayim as a korban. He's the one who eats the meat. Nothing. Levium is only grain, produce. That's all. It's a tenth. It's 10. There it's 10%. Here it's also 10%. Nothing. Correct. This, the Kohen gets his portion, and the rest belongs to the one who brings it. He gets the chaz of a shok, the breast and the thigh. Every kachim kalim, any consecration of the lesser degree of kalim, he receives the chaz of a shok. That's the breast and the thigh. Belongs to the one who brings the korban. It's his. He can invite the Kohen. He can invite the Levi, his family. But it's his to do what he wants with. And it has to be in Yerushalayim. Cannot be taken out. It's all kachim kalim. Everything. Kochi kadoshim, ola, chatos, osham. That's the more advanced level. That only a Kohen could eat. Kochi kadoshim only a Kohen could eat. Okay, person brings a chatos. And he has no assets. You know, it's unbelievable. He's on what's the thing? On welfare. Gets food stamps, everything. But the man doesn't have a nickel to his name. It's unbelievable what he gets. You understand? That's the Kohen. He doesn't own property. He never received a portion of the land. Okay? When there's spoils of war, he doesn't share in the spoils of war either. Same Kohen, Levi, same thing. Okay? Buy land, but Yovel comes, it goes back to the original owner. Anybody can buy land. Okay? It's worthwhile to read Rashi over here in terms of the mistake. The Gemara asks, in regard to Meiser, there you could say 50% is Meiser. So when he said 20%, he meant 50% of the 20. But by Meiser, possible Shemona Tisha, Rashi. When he counted 9, and Yochalotzi Shnayim, Loma Chatzi Kol Echod Ye Meiser. Could he say 50% of each one should be the 10, should have the status of Meiser? V'yikorav l'chatzoin, v'leso nam yuzeh, and they cannot be consecutive. She'ach shekora la'asiri asiri. Once he pronounces the 10th to be the 10th, v'choza v'kora la'charoser asiri, and a kodosh. Once he calls the 10th, now he calls the 11th 10. Means nothing. Why? As I explained, because once he finishes counting 10, whatever follows is irrelevant. But we say, one of them is absolutely meiser. Who? The second one is shlomim. So we're not sure which is the maser, which is the shlomim. So shlomim, when it gets a blemish, you have to redeem it. You have to redeem it. Otherwise, you're not permitted to eat it. It's what we call psulei makdoshim. Okay? Kidin acharoso shekorasiri ach shetov v'korasiri chiri has the same status when you call 10-9 and you call 11-10. We say it's considered consecrated. But what level? Factually, it's not the 10th. It assumes the status of shlomim. The kaimelon shu shlomim kedel kamon hai havinami shlomim. Shri acharos zeh afshu acha kriyas chi nikrasiri v'rehemu rovim v'yiru achistav. It's phenomenal. We're saying like this: if he calls factually the 10th 9, now we're going to come outside with it, and then he calls the 11th 10. So we say the 9th is a Beiser, the 11th, which he calls 10, is called Shlomim. It becomes a Shlomim. Because since the 10th wasn't identified as 10, so therefore the counting hasn't been completed. So it can't be Meiser because factually it's not the 10th. But because he identifies as 10, it assumes a status of consecration. Just listen to the fact, just to get the facts down. Okay? So now, when they come out simultaneously, even though they're not, he says, they're 10. He's calling both of them 10. So since the 10th, which is 10th, did not precede the 11th to be called 10. Therefore, it's like calling the 11th 10 where you haven't yet called the 9th 10. You follow what I'm saying? Because the 10, if you pronounce 10 on the 11th where it wasn't previously pronounced, then the 11th becomes a shlomim. So when they come out simultaneously, and you've called them both 10, when you called the 11th 10, the 10 wasn't called 10 yet. Because it was at the same time as you called the 10-10, you called the 11th 10. So that's the reason why it assumes the status of shlomim. So it's the equivalent of calling the 10th 9 and the 11th 10. Still, we still say Yev Shalom Samson. Right.
One actually came out
First. Correct.
Okay. So that one is actually 10.
Again,
so the other one
here we're talking about pronouncement.
No, I'm talking about the reality. I mean, when we're dealing with these mistakes that happen, the reality is that one was 10.
No, so we're going to go with, we're going to say
Because
that Rava, we'll make it simple. Rava hold is you follow perception. It's perceived as they are simultaneous.
But in reality,
We don't deal with reality. That's the argument in the Mishnah in Bechoros. Do you deal with reality? Or,
with respect to the mistakes, 9, 10, and 11,
there it's simple.
the reality is one was 10, but the other two were called 10.
Correct?
Okay? And so we call them all 10.
And therefore, the 11th is affected but when you call it 10.
Yes, but it has a different status.
Correct.
So now the two come out simultaneously. I want to say the same thing.
Yes, so they both can be.
One is actually 10. You measure it with a photo finish. One is actually 10. But the other one is 11. But you called it 10. So
But
that's
because
why
the pronouncement was simultaneous. The pronouncement was simultaneous.
pronouncement is simultaneous.
That's the reason. It's because of the pronouncement.
Now I don't know which one is
See,
stronger.
what is the idea? Once you, let's call 10-10, and you call the 11th 10 after you called the 10-10. You finish counting. You don't start counting at 10, you start counting at 1. But here, when he counted, even though one may have preceded as much as a hairbreadth, but in fact, the pronouncement was simultaneous. That was simultaneous. He called them 10. So it's like calling, since the 10 wasn't called 10 before the 11th, therefore the 11th assumes the status of Shlomim. Mistakenly. He saw them both come out. And he called both, he says, but we're saying that even intent is irrelevant. Even if a person mistakenly calls the 11th 10, the 11th, it's considered. He did see it. It would be. If 10 would come out at the same time, same thing. Let's say 9 come, and then when it comes to the 10th, 5 rush through the gate. All 5 would be the same thing. One would be Meiser, and all the subsequent ones would be Shlomim. Be the same thing. We don't know. So you have to let all of them have to graze, and until they're blemished, every one of them, and then you take the value. Let's say these. You take the value of one. Say whichever one is the Shlomim, the kedushas go onto the money. Right, but you only exchange over the value of one, because Meiser doesn't need redemption. That's the exception. Although it's kachim kalim, if it becomes blemished, you could eat it without redemption. You don't know which one, right? So in terms of the way you conduct yourself with it, it has to be eaten within a certain context. Okay, but in terms of redemption, you only have to take the value of one. The value of one, say wherever it may be, it's transferred over to the money, and then you buy a shlomim with that money.
Just understand how it works. Let's say you see what's happening. You see one go through the gate before this one, but they both go through the gate, and you call them both. Does it change anything?
No, doesn't.
Same. It doesn't have to be simultaneous.
Right.
The question is
The pronouncement, but the pronouncement doesn't make a difference. Even if you don't, that's only to identify it. That's only.
That makes it so as soon as you put the rest in, you pronounce one. And then
So you said this one. So then you're saying it.
by hitting it with the stick.
Right, but you don't. That's only to identify it. Even if you didn't hit it with a stick. Went out, tachsa shovet.
If you're using a stick and you identify.
Yeah, Moshe was on my back to learn chelik for 3 years. Now he wants to learn Bechoros. Okay, we'll get to Bechoros someday. Okay. Okay. V'yomakol mokum shem shlomim yem chulal beimus. He says, so what do you do? Harei hein muravim v'yiruachi established. You let the two animals graze until they become blemished. V'yovi beimus chulin. The two animals that came out simultaneously, or whatever it is. One is mice and one is shlomim. So what do you do? So you have to. You can't. You have to wait till they both become blemished. Right? You can't sacrifice because they did in the ritual of sacrificing, the sprinkle of blood of one is different than the other. So you don't. If you're not sure which one, what do you do? No, blemished mice you're permitted to eat. You don't bring it as a korban. Blemished mice you don't bring it as a korban. Okay, but one is a shlomim, so that one you have to replace it. You don't have to know which ones. Wherever it is, let it transfer. The kedusha is on one of them. Whichever one it's on, let it transfer onto the money, or onto the animal. So good. So now you take that one animal, bring it as a shlomim. That's it. End of the story. What do you mean you don't know which one? These two are blemished. Let me ask a question. The Mishnah says in one location, I have a coin of Ma'aser Sheni. It falls into 1,000 coins. So until you somehow identify that coin, you can't use any of the coins. Correct? So what do? You take a coin, which is definitely Ma'aser Sheni. Wherever that coin may be, let the kedusha transfer onto this coin. So all of you know none of them have Ma'aser Sheni kedusha. So here you have two blemished animals. One's kedusha can be transferred, the other one's kedusha doesn't have to be transferred. It doesn't have kedusha any longer. So now you're okay, right? That's it.
So he goes back into the window, and you can see which one went first. Although he pronounced both.
Doesn't make a
Can we
difference.
say that is Maaseh?
No. It is.
But he knows which one. Now he knows. You don't have to put them out to get blameless and do that other procedure. Can you say, I can now tell which one was the actual Maaseh?
If you can't tell on the camera,
Now know which one is the
probably
actual.
could. Yeah.
He could.
Yeah.
So
Then
then
you
I
wouldn't
can
have
go.
to. You wouldn't have to have them graze till they're blemished. Correct? No, because he pronounced, because the pronouncement didn't follow the pronouncement of the 10. The only reason why you pronounce 10 after the 10, because you finish counting. Okay, let's go to the next case. So the Gemara asks a question. Harei toda, the lesser betos, v'lesser b'zeh. Now, let's talk. What is a toda korban? It's comprised, you have an animal, okay, you consecrate an animal, and now you have 40 loaves of bread. 30 of the loaves are what? Are matzah, 10 loaves of chametz. No, it has nothing with simultaneous. The pronouncement is simultaneous. So, no. We asked the question. Over there, you can't consecrate half of an animal as you could do regarding Meiser. When he said 20% should be Meiser, we say what he meant to say was 50% of the 20% should be Meiser. Right? So this is, what about when you're dealing with animals? There's no such thing as 50% of an animal being Meiser. So when he calls two animals Meiser, it should be nothing. Because if he pronounced one to be Meiser, the one that follows is not Meiser, so why would he pronounce as both? Why does it affect both of the animals? So we're saying there's a special Xeris HaKosav there. Because since the counting wasn't finished when he called the 11th 10, that's why the 10... No, it's not refuting. We asked it as a refutation. This is the exception, something else. Now we have something called kedushas haguf. What's kedushas haguf? You consecrate an animal. The animal itself now was fit to be put on the mizbeach. What about the toda? The toda is made of. Okay, I'll just give you a little bit of a background. I want to bring a mincha, a meal offering. So what do? You consecrate the flour, and then you put the flour into a kli sharis, a ministering vessel. Let's say you just consecrate the flour. This flour, which is the measure which is needed for the mincha, is consecrated, and now I want to redeem the flour after I consecrate it. What's the halacha? You could redeem it, because until you put it in the ministering vessel, its classification is kedushas domim. It's not kedusha. It's not fit yet to be put on the mizbeach. So kedushas domim, it's an asset of hegdish, which is meant to be put on the mizbeach, but it hasn't been fully developed yet to be put on the mizbeach. It's only after it's been put in the kli sharis, then it's ready to put on the mizbeach. So let's say it becomes contaminated. Before you put in the kli sharis, it becomes contaminated. What do you do with it? Chulin, which is contaminated, you're permitted to eat. Right? If it's not consecrated. So what do? You redeem it. You redeem the flour onto money, value, purchase new flour, and you bring a new mincha. What about after you put it into the ministering vessel? It becomes contaminated. Then it has to be burnt. Because kedushas haguf, an animal, once it becomes blemished, you could redeem it, because it's not fit for the mizbech. But the mincha, we're not talking about a blemish, that's contamination. If it's fit for the mizbech, comes disqualified, it has to be burnt. It can no longer be redeemed. The Torah says, what causes the loaves, the 40 loaves of bread, to assume the identical status as the kedusha of the animal? The moment you sanctify, you consecrate the animal, it's a toda. Toda is a shlomim. Same thing, shlomim. Except the shlomim is 2 days and a night in terms of the time period you eat it. A toda has to be eaten within the 24-hour period. With it. 40 loaves together with the toda. Right. A Kohen gets one of each loaf. The rest is eaten by the one who brings the toda, the thanks offering. You can invite his friends to eat it. No, 40. Only 40. There's no such thing as more than 40. 40 loaves. That's what the Torah says. Now, when he slaughters the toda, he does the shechita on the toda, the act of shechita causes the loaves to be elevated to the same status as the korban. Before that, it's kedushas damim. Meaning that if you want to redeem them, they're redeemable. So if they come contaminated, it's less a kedusha. It's similar to the flour of the meal offering. If it's consecrated, but wasn't yet put into the ministering vessel. Okay? So what's mekadesh the lechem? Sanctifies the lechem. Shchitas hatoda, the slaughtering of the toda, that consecrates it, elevates the bread. None of them are in the mizbeach. Let's has nothing to do with it. Kedushas mizbeach over here has to do with nothing with the mizbeach. It assumes, just get the example there, it assumes the identical status as the korban itself. So therefore it can only be in Yerushalayim. You take it out of Yerushalayim, becomes invalidated. You take it out of school. Okay? Now, so Gemara asks a question, Hari Toda, the lesser betos. Toda, there's no such thing as, if you make a mistake, that regardless of the mistake, it assumes a status of Kedusha. Let's say a person goes and he slaughters the animal, and he says it's on white flour, not black flour. The loaves were made. And it turns out it's not what he originally intended. The shechita of the toda will not sanctify the bread, which is not the bread which he originally intended to. You understand? No, we rule it's not. The white calf, you said black and it's white, it's not consecrated. So the toda is exactly the same. So it's less than betos. If the consecration came about, it's not a valid consecration. It's not. Okay? And what happens if he slaughters it on the loaves that he meant they should be? Then he says, I want an additional 40 loaves to be consecrated. Also, it's not. Because the animal, slaughtering of the animal, you have 40 loaves and no more than 40 loaves. No, it's a valid. You need the 40. It goes hand in hand. It's a valid korban, but you have to bring another toda. It's not valid because it's no worse than a shlomim. A toda is no worse than a shlomim. You understand? It's no worse than bringing voluntarily a peace offering. But to be yotze, your obligation of toda, you won't be yotze. You have to bring another. So you have to bring another animal, slaughter it, and have the 40 loaves associated with it. Okay? You have to start over again. Because the only way you're able to consecrate the loaves is only through the slaughtering of the animal. You have to bring another animal. You're not yotze, but it's a valid korban. It's not. It's a shlomim. No. You can't because it was consecrated as a toda. Still limited to the 24-hour period. Nothing more. Essentially, the famous word from the Netziv. You know, normally Kochim Kalim is 2 days and a night. So why is toda within the 24-hour period? Okay. So the Netziv says, what do you bring a toda? To offer thanks to Hashem. So normally, if the Torah says that once the time period expires, it becomes no sir. You're not permitted to eat it beyond that time period. So if you have 2 days and a night, it's a longer time period to eat it. So less people have to be involved to prevent no sir from coming about. Because you have a longer time period to eat it. What happens if you only have less than 24 hours? Let's say you bring it 12 noon. That means you have from 12 noon till dawn. So that means unless you have 40 loaves of bread that have to be consumed, plus the animal, you have to invite quite a few people. So by inviting more people, you're publicizing the kindness of Hashem that he did on your behalf. So it's to publicize it, to invite more people. That's the Netziv. Okay? So V'itmar, Toda shenishta al shmonim chalos. A person takes 80 loaves of bread, and we said Toda is only 40. It's not 80. Right? But he took 80 loaves of bread. Chizki Omar Kochi lo arbo mitoch shmonim. We say 40 of the 80 are consecrated. Although he said, I'm slaughtering the animal, I want all 80 loaves to be toda. To be associated with the toda, all 40 become toda. We say kachi arba mitoch 80. You can't have 80 because factually there's no such thing as 80. But factually, but he said something, but he said 80. So did he mean 50%? He didn't mean 50%. He meant, at this point, he meant 80. So we say, so here it cannot be affected simultaneously with 80. So it should be like two sisters. It should be nothing. But yet it says 40 of the 80 are consecrated. Chizkiah 40 of the 80 are consecrated. Rabbi Yochanan Amar lo kachi lo arboim mitoch arboim. So Rabbi Yochanan says it's nothing. It's the same with what's the machlokes Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan? The principle of Rabbah. Rabbah's principle is the argument. According to Chizkiah, these 40 of the 80, that means, so if you marry two sisters, right? And he says, I want both sisters to be married to me. We don't say neither are married. One is married, which one? So you'll have to give a get to both of them. Similar to here, there's no such thing as 80. He said 80, but since it was happening simultaneously, and each 40 could have been, so what is it? So we say it's 40 of the 80. Which 40? We don't know which 40. It will be the same thing. You don't know. You don't. They'll all, you have to wait till they become noser? No, not a problem. No, you eat all 80. Eat all 80. So 40 are ordinary. So it does make a difference. No, what you'll have to do is this. You'll have to redeem 40 of the 80. Because factually, if it's consecrated and it didn't assume the status of shlomim, of the Torah, you're not permitted to eat it. Because it's considered consecrated at the lesser level. At that level, it's considered the asset of Hegdish. So you'll take the value of 40, redeem it onto money, right? And now you'll eat all 80. 40 as being part of the Torah, and the other 40 as ordinary. That will go to Hegdish. Nothing. It's like you brought a toda without anything.
You could take them out and you can eat them.
No, you have to redeem them. You have to redeem all 80. All 80 have to be redeemed.
Because that, even though you say nothing,
He said, I want, because they originally consecrated Kedushas Domim. Before the toda is able to bring them to the higher level, they have to be consecrated at the lower level. So he originally consecrated all 80.
you're still out 80.
He's out 80.
He has to pay.
But it's not the toda. All 80 could be redeemed according to Rabbi Yochanan.
If you wouldn't want to redeem it, could you just leave it to take it?
What are they going to do with it? So the Hegdish will redeem it. No, they can't. They cannot. It's Hegdish's asset. So what he'll do is somebody needs a shlomim, toda. They'll take the money. They'll use it to purchase somebody else's toda. That's what they'll do with the money. No, the value of whatever the value of the bread is. That's what you're deeming onto that value. Okay? So seemingly the machlokas Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan is based on the principle of Rabbah. Do we say kol shbzeh einus achazeh afilu b'vas achazeh? That's Rabbi Yochanan. Because he says none of the 80 are consecrated. According to Chizkiah, he's arguing. We will continue.